So you have chickens too. Are you using a miner to heat the area where the chickens are as well?
So yeah, they have. So I currently have three S9s heating different areas of the house, both inside and outside. One does just the grow room and then like kind of my hangout area. Another one does the upstairs, and then there's one that does the back end of the house and then splits off to send some of it into the chicken coop. Um, which they I'm sure are fascinated fucking by. But yeah, it's one of those. They kind of need it anyway. There are chickens that you can get that are fully winter resistant, but like I, to be honest, don't have those chickens. And the coop that I was given this year, because this was all things that are essentially were just given to me because my neighbors are moving and they were like, bro, we don't know what to do with these chickens anymore. It's pretty ramshackle, so it had to get like secured down pretty well. It needed to be upgraded, and even after that, I was kind of leery about letting the chickens just huddle for heat. So yeah, we just had to split off a little ventilation tube for them, and they're happy now. Plus, it keeps extra airflow. So rather than like a traditional heater that you would put in there for your chickens that just radiates heat, this introduces airflow, which is really important because that pushes the ammonia buildup that might happen in there out of your coop, which would be dangerous for your chickens or for you. Say you were to go in there and lift up the tarp that you would be using to secure them down, inhale a huge amount of ammonia and pass out. Not exactly the best way to be.
Yeah, but a little bit of that ammonia, then it's smelling salts, right?
I'm not exactly sure what the science behind all that is, but all I know is that if you can smell your chicken coop, your neighbors can probably smell your chicken coop, and that's not good. So I try to make sure that nobody can smell my chicken coop, and the S9 helps with that. It keeps things dry rather than damp, which is nice. With a lot of the shift in weather we've had recently, as cold as New York usually is this time of year, we've had a couple of melts. And so being able to pump in warm, dry air to dry out their hay has been super crucial for them to just kind of like their happiness. Probably not to their survivability, maybe, but to their happiness. I know that I don't appreciate having wet feet all the time.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so what's the weather? Because in New York, I feel like everywhere last week it was at least I don't know, just from watching the NFL last weekend, everybody was talking about like record colds around the
Yeah,
country.
last week we had 28 people die in our state from the cold, which is just it's funny because like it's not abnormal. Like that's one of those things that would probably be a more average number over like the course of a month maybe, but it got really really cold. I subjected myself on accident to a couple of severe cases of frost while tending the chickens and not quite paying attention to what I was doing, getting my hands wet and then letting them sit out in the wind for a second, or grabbing some snow that was just on something else that I was grabbing. And it was so cold that I couldn't even tell that my hands were essentially already numbed up and then accumulating a good amount of bite on them. So that was interesting. And then this week, it's been. I mean, I'm wearing shorts. It's shorts and a cutoff. It's fucking hot out here. Like it's. I mean, I
Okay.
say hot, but it's like in the 50s or so.
Yeah,
But when
take
it was
it easy.
negative fucking
I'm in
15,
Florida.
20 last week, it was mean.
Yeah, take it easy. I'm in Florida, dude. I'd be wearing sweats and a hoodie, probably a jacket too.
Right, but it's a 70 degree difference between what we had last week. Is more or
Yeah,
less what I'm nailing at.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And hey, Bitcoin miners using them to heat, you're solving a lot of problems. So that's awesome. I actually had our friend hashing the heating on my pod, not
He
yesterday, but
told me.
yeah, a week ago. So
He's
I
like, I
got
don't want to spoil it, but I was on there.
yeah, I got a lot of positive reviews for that one. But he was awesome. He's talking about a bunch of different projects, but it seems like that's kind of the new wave, at least, from my perspective, where it's going to be a lot of miners. Either I know I've kind of said this a couple times, where it's either, they're using excess energy as this hash rate kind of increases, whether it's, a Shell, ExxonMobil, those kind of things, where it's, the runoff of the flare gas, or it's, maybe home miners or other places, maybe even industrial places, industrial greenhouses, what have you, using Bitcoin miners to heat facilities, areas, homes, commercial buildings, what have you. So, yeah, I think it's a really interesting concept that I don't think has really caught on as much as it should just yet.
No, there's Jay from GeoBitMine, the guy that I spoke to when we were at Mining Disrupt, the one that's he hopped up and asked a question to Ben from Bitfarms there. Um, he's doing something where he's trying to incorporate. I think he's had some success with this recently, actually, where he's trying to incorporate a mining solution into greenhouses, and I really really like that. It's one of the things that obviously I'm doing as a small proof of concept here, but I mean it costs an average of I think $1 to $1.5 million per acre for a greenhouse to stay heated per month over winter time. So that's a very significant cost, and that's one of those sort of things that if you could reduce that even a little bit, or get some cash back in the way of sats, you're really looking at, increasing your bottom line and bringing up a lot more of I would say a healthy business around that end.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, but cool stuff. I know. I mean, while I was at a conference with Ben, he said that Bitfarms doesn't have any kind of desire to try to use the excess heat that they run off from
Yeah,
others.
yeah, that's what Jay was asking about. And he had pretty much shot that down. But I know, Jay, that's at GeoBitMine, I think is his current tag. That's what he's all about. He's really pushing that in the greenhouse area. Like I said, it kind of interests me that Bitfarm's not at least looking into it. Um,
Well, I don't think any publicly traded miner that is mining just strictly their business is just mining Bitcoin. One, I think they're all in trouble right now. But
yeah,
two, I don't think any of them really try to utilize their heat, which is unfortunate. And maybe that's a trend that'll change if a couple of them go
I
down.
think it'll have to.
Down.
Like it's one of those things that I'm kind of in the same like sort of headspace here as Neil Ronan, where he thinks that essentially these miners are getting too big. And if they're getting too big to focus on just mining, that's one of those things that works when we're in a bull market. But when a bear market comes and it lasts for a while, we're seeing a lot of pain. We're seeing a lot of people that, like you said, are against the ropes, and they're kind of in an area where they don't really have a lot of liquidity. They're selling off machines, they're shutting down, they're defaulting on contracts, and they're going to have to get creative, or they're going to die out, or they're going to have to take on a model of having multiple smaller sites, which is going to have a new introduction of capital expenditure. But it's also going to reduce the risk of if one of your sites goes down, or if your power purchase agreement changes somewhere, or if that state decides that they don't like Bitcoin mining anymore. You're not out 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 machines. You're not out 1,000 machines. You might be out 500.